Welcome to Echo Forge, dark fantasy and sci-fi stories from the edges of forgotten worlds. If you enjoy this kind of storytelling, hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next vision. Now, let's step through the gate.
Gravity well. The first sign that something was wrong was that nothing was wrong at all. Lira finished her patrol without interruption. No drunken brawls on deck 3. No smuggling disputes in the cargo bay. No one tried to bite her arm off. The station's gravity was steady, the air clean, the lights blue-white and stable. K-17 hummed along in the quiet way of a machine that believed, for the moment, that the universe had forgotten it. It made her skin itch. She stepped into the gym out of habit more than conscious choice. It was empty. That, more than anything, set her on edge. Jax's self-inflicted Jax hour had become as much a part of her mental map as the maintenance ladders and emergency bulkheads. He should have been there, upside down, or doing something ill-advised with weights, or trying to convince the treadmill to go faster than its safety settings allowed. The silence in the room felt wrong. She checked the system clock on the wall. He was late. Jax was many things. Sarcastic, evasive, a walking OSHA violation. But he was rarely late for the one part of the day he treated like a sacrament, making poor choices under controlled conditions while annoying her. Her comm pinged. "Officer Teth," Commander Raoul's voice came through, clipped and dry. "Report to Deck 1 observation. Now." Lira was already moving. Deck 1 observation was usually half empty. It wasn't particularly scenic. The viewing ports there looked upward into space rather than downward at the gas giant. Most visitors preferred storms and swirling color to cold stars. It was mainly used by navigators, technicians recalibrating sensors, and the occasional insomniac. Today, it was crowded. Raoul stood near the main viewport, carapace ridges shifting in quiet agitation. A cluster of staffers hovered around the central console, muttering. Lira slid through them, her badge clearing a path. "Commander," she said. "What?" "Look," Raoul interrupted, mandibles clicking. He gestured toward the stars. Lira looked. At first, she saw nothing unusual. A scatter of distant suns. The faint haze of a nebula burned thin by distance. The black. Then the black moved. A patch of starfield warped, subtly. Points of light stretched, bent, then snapped back, as if something unseen had passed between them and the station. "What am I looking at?" she asked quietly. "An absence," Raoul said. "Our long-range sensors show a null volume approximately 100 kilometers off our orbit. No reflected signal, no emissions, but mass. Significant mass. 10 minutes ago it appeared where there was nothing." Lira's pulse picked up. "Like the firebreak?" she asked. "No," Raoul said. "The firebreak was a pebble. This is a mountain." As if summoned by the word, Jax appeared at her side. He was breathing slightly harder than normal, hair damp, shirt only half tucked. He must have sprinted. "I heard we've got a new friend," he said, eyes already on the viewport. "Tell me it's not bigger than my self-esteem. That's hard to top." Raoul angled his head, mandibles flexing. "Engineer, you are late for your scheduled exercise." "I'm exercising my survival instincts," Jax said. "Cardio can wait. Show me." One of the techs flicked a sequence on the console. A ghostly overlay appeared on the viewport's transparent surface. A wireframe mass where the stars had warped, a silhouette drawn in negative. It was large. Larger than K-17 by an order of magnitude, shaped like nothing a local yard would have built, a flattened, asymmetrical torus wrapped around an invisible axis, surfaces angled to swallow light and reflection alike. Lira felt something cold creep down her spine. "Is that—" she began. "Yeah," Jax said quietly. "That's them." Rahal's mandibles clicked. "Your people." The deck seemed to tilt. Lira found her center again by force. "You told us," she said to Jax, "that they prefer to stay hidden, to observe." "They do," he said. "This is them being subtle." "That is subtle?" Ral demanded. "For them, yes," Jax said. "If they wanted to be obvious, you'd be getting a nice, polite hail from a ship the size of a small moon with a name like Principled Abstention." Lira tore her gaze away from the impossible ship to look at him. "How long?" she asked. "How long have they been able to sit that close without us knowing?" "Since before your grandparents were born," he said, without humor. "The only reason you can see this one is because it wants to be seen. Slightly." Lyra's jaw tightened. "Purpose?" "That," Jax said blandly, "is an excellent question that I am certainly not quietly panicking about." "Explain," Ral snapped. "They said they'd send retrieval," Jax said. "A small ship, unobtrusive. That," he jerked his chin at the warp in the stars, "is not small, which means it's not just about me." "Then it is about us," Ral said. "Probably," Jax admitted. "Firebreak logs, stolen dock records, my little tantrum on the emergency channel. You've attracted attention." "Can they harm the station?" Lira asked. He gave her a look. "Lira," he said, "they could turn this entire system into a slightly warmer, slightly more radioactive version of itself and file it under unfortunate stellar event. The question isn't can, it's will." "Will they?" she pressed. He blew out a breath. "They came in relatively close and let you see the distortion," he said. "If they wanted you gone, you wouldn't see anything at all. My guess? This is a conversation." Ral made a noise like scraped metal. "Your people send a warship to our orbit to talk. For them, this is polite," Jax said. "This is them knocking." "Well," Lira said, forcing her voice steady, "what do we do when someone knocks?" "Depends who it is," Jax muttered. Ral turned to them both. "I will not have this station erased because of your people's paranoia," he said to Jax. "Nor will I hand over an officer who has saved this station twice now as some token sacrifice." Lira blinked. "Commander?" she asked. "You are not property," Ral said. "Neither is he. Whatever they want, they will speak it plainly. On my station, we negotiate, not grovel." Jax stared at him as if he had sprouted a second set of antennae. "You're going to yell at a ship that could probably move the gas giant for fun," he said. "Yes," Ral replied. Jax's mouth curved, a hint of wonder in it. "Oh," he said softly, "I'm going to miss you when they incinerate us." "Not funny," Lira said. He shrugged weakly. "I don't have a non-funny mode." The console chimed. One of the technicians flinched. "Commander, we're receiving something." "Define something," Ral said. "Not a signal on any standard channel," the tech said, fingers flying. "More like a pressure. It's overriding our local system clocks, syncing them to an external reference." Timestamps just jumped. The viewport flickered. The stars bent slightly, then snapped back. A faint outline shimmered at the edge of perception, a ring of pale light tracing the silhouette of the massive ship, then fading, like a watermark on reality. Lyra's stomach seemed to drop a few centimeters. "What was that?" she demanded. "Identification," Jax said. "They're marking themselves in your sensor history, making sure your logs show they were here. That's interesting." "Why?" Ral asked. "Because it means they're not planning to pretend this never happened," Jax said. "Which means whatever comes next, they're willing to own." The console pinged again. A new window opened on the central display. It showed a point of light detached from the larger null mass, moving toward K-17. A shuttle, if one could call something that left no drive plume and registered barely a ripple on the station's aging sensors a shuttle. "Incoming," the tech said. "Approach vector, direct to Dock 2, no transponder, no ID." "Dock 2 shield status?" Ral snapped. "Online," another tech said. "But they're not requesting clearance. They're just sliding through. On the viewport, the point of light reached the station's wireframe representation and passed through the docking shield icon as if it were a suggestion. The tech swore. They just convinced the shield they were already inside, Jax said. Cute. Commander? Lira asked. Raal's mandibles ground together, a sound like someone sharpening knives. Security teams to Dock 2, he said. Non-lethal weapons. Containment priority. Officer Teth. Engineer Jax. Yes, sir, Lira said, straightening. You will meet our guests, Raal finished. Jax winced. Of course we will. Commander, Lira said, this could be dangerous. So is breathing, Raal replied. Yet here we are. He locked his gaze on Jax. You will not surrender yourself without my consent, he said. Is that understood? Jax blinked. You realize if they really want me, they'll just... Is that understood? Raal repeated. Jax swallowed. Yes, Commander, he said quietly. Good, Raal said. Go. Dock 2 felt wrong. Not damaged, not yet. But the air had a charge to it, a faint metallic tang, like the moment before lightning strikes. Lira moved at the center of a wedge of security officers, stun weapons at the ready. Jax walked beside her, hands empty, expression composed. He'd changed into a fresh shirt, as if on some level the idea of meeting his people sweaty was unacceptable. You okay? She asked under her breath. Define okay, he murmured. Capable of function, she said. Then yes, he said. Emotionally, absolutely not. I'm about 3 seconds away from bolting back to the gym and hiding in a locker. Do not, she said. I won't, he said. I'm just saying it's a valid option on the internal menu. The inner dock door loomed ahead, sealed. Through the narrow viewport, Lira could see Dock 2's main bay, the familiar scuffed deck plating, the cargo cranes, the empty berth where ships normally hooked up to the station's external ring. Empty. No vessel was visible. Where are they? One of the officers whispered. In the vestibule, Jax said softly, or very nearby. How do you know? Lira asked. Because I can feel my stomach trying to leave my body in that direction, he said. Open the door, Lira ordered. The dock system cycled. The inner door slid aside with a hiss. The vestibule was occupied. There were 3 of them. They stood in a loose triangle on the far side of the threshold, hands visible, no weapons in sight. They could have passed for human at a glance. 2 tall figures, one slightly shorter, all bipedal, all with familiar arrangements of limbs and features. But the similarities ended in the details. Their skin had a faint luster, like metal polished just shy of reflection. Their eyes were too clear, irises ringed with subtle, shifting geometric patterns. Each wore a uniform that looked like someone had tried to design neutral authority as a fashion line. Smooth, featureless fabric, in a color Lira's eyes refused to categorize, cut in lines that flowed rather than creased. The one in front stepped slightly forward. Local authority, they said, in perfect galactic common. Their voice was calm, neither masculine nor feminine to Lira's ear. We greet you in the name of the Concordant Observation Directorate. Catchy, Jax muttered. Lira felt every weapon behind her tense. I am Commander Raal, came Raal's voice over the dock speakers. He had chosen not to be physically present, but his presence filled the space all the same. This is my station. You are uninvited. The front figure inclined their head slightly. Our presence is regrettably necessary, they said. We have come to address a breach of containment and the deployment of a firebreak asset in this system. You mean the weapon you aimed at us? Lira said. Those clear eyes turned to her. You must be Officer Lira Teth, the figure said. Security. Primary local liaison to Subject Jaxus Carl. Her hand twitched toward her baton. Subject? She repeated. Jax stepped forward, half a pace. Okay, no. We are not starting with that label. It's just Jax. Engineer Jaxus Carl, the figure corrected. You are operating outside your authorized parameters. Yeah, he said. That's kind of the point. And yet, they said, you are alive, as are the 4,000 sentients aboard this installation. You are welcome. Lyra's temper flared. Welcome, she said sharply. We did not ask you to aim a firebreak at us. We stopped it. He stopped it. She gestured at Jax. The figure regarded her with a cool, clinical interest. Yes, they said. He interfered with a containment asset. He drew our attention, and then he petitioned for mercy, successfully. They tilted their head. A curious sequence of choices. It was the only ethical one, Jax said, unless you've revised the term sentient since I left. Your departure from concordant space was not authorized, the second figure said, stepping forward. Their eyes were narrower, voice edged with disapproval. Your presence here constitutes contamination. Then classify me as garbage and recycle me, Jax said. Leave everyone else out of it. The first figure lifted a hand, forestalling further argument. Local Commander Ral, they said, addressing the air. We are prepared to offer an accord. State it, Ral said. We will deactivate and recover the firebreak node currently in your system, the figure said. We will erase any residual instrumentation that might flag this location as compromised. In exchange, you will release Engineer Jaxus Carl into our custody for debrief and reintegration. You will provide no further assistance to him, and you will accept our ongoing remote observation as a condition of your continued survival. Lyra's jaw clenched so hard it hurt. There it is, Jax muttered. The offer I've been dreading. Negative, Ral said flatly. There was a brief, startled silence. Clarify, the second figure said. You point a weapon at my station, Ral said, then arrive with a larger one and offer not to pull either trigger if I surrender one of my crew. That is not an accord. That is extortion. You are in no position to negotiate, the second figure said coldly. And yet here we are, Ral replied. This station has defended itself against raiders, sabotage, and your firebreak. We will do so against you if we must. Lyra glanced at Jax. He had gone very still, eyes locked on the lead figure, jaw tight. Ral, he said under his breath, with all due respect, please stop antagonizing the people with the planet killer. They brought the planet killer to my doorstep, Ral hissed back through the comm. I will not grovel. You cannot hope to resist us, the second figure said. You would be surprised what we can do when irritated, Ral replied. The first figure exhaled, a delicate sound. Violence is unnecessary, they said. We have no interest in your installation beyond ensuring it does not threaten the integrity of adjacent developmental arcs. Our conflict is with our own asset. Then negotiate with him, Lyra said, pointing at Jax again. Not with us. All three visitors looked at her like she had just suggested they flap their arms and fly. Jax rubbed a hand over his face. Let me talk to them, he murmured. Proceed, Ral said. Try not to get us all killed. No promises, Jax replied. He stepped fully into the vestibule, crossing the faint line on the deck that marked the boundary of the station's protective field. Lyra's instinct screamed at her. Jax, she said sharply. He glanced back at her. Up close, his usual easy posture looked brittle, like glass under a thin layer of paint. It's okay, he said. They won't vaporize me in front of you. That's messy. That is not reassuring, she said. Think positive, he said. If they shoot me, you get to say, I told you so forever. Come no further, the second figure said. That is close enough. I'm not the one with the giant invisible ship, Jax said. You're in my friend's house. The least you can do is not act like you own the floor. Technically, the second figure began. Stop, the first said quietly. They studied Jax for a long, uncomfortable moment. Your choices have been costly, they said. You exposed a firebreak node. You forced oversight to intervene openly. You have contaminated yourself with local attachments. Lira felt that last word like a tug in her chest. Jax gave a crooked smile. Yeah, he said. It's been a fun week. The directive exists to prevent precisely this, the first figure said. We observe. We do not interfere. We do not become entangled. You interfered 6 years ago when somebody screwed up in this system, Jax said. You interfered again when you dropped a firebreak on it. Don't pretend you're some pure, untouched witness. You've got fingerprints all over this place. That was corrective action, the second figure snapped. It was cowardice, Jax shot back. You didn't want to deal with your own mistakes, so you tried to erase them. A faint flush, if it could be called that, rose under the second figure's skin. Your sentimentality clouds your judgment, they said. These people are not your responsibility. They are now, Jax said. Silence fell. The first figure broke it. You would sever yourself, they said slowly, from your own kind, for them. Lyra's breath caught. She hadn't realized until that moment how much she'd been assuming he would leave, that this was all inevitable. He would go back to the invisible ship, back to the orbiting debates, and the strange pocket of dangerous warmth she had found herself in would cool and collapse. Jax looked past the emissaries at her. His eyes were grey and very, very tired. I already did, he said, when I left. You left in protest, the first figure said. You argued from afar. You sent reports. You maintained your citizenship. You left a path to return. Yeah, he said, and then you pointed a gun at 4,000 strangers. I think that path broke. You are young, the second figure said. Your perspective is limited. You do not comprehend the ramifications of what you propose. I comprehend this, Jax said quietly. I can go back with you, let you scramble my logs, let you pat yourselves on the back for mitigating risk, and this station becomes another entry in a case study about acceptable exposure. Or I can stay, and you have to admit that sometimes the clean line on your chart wiggles. The first figure regarded him. You would trade your access to our archives, our resources, our protection, they said, for a rusted ring with inadequate shielding and a crime rate. Yes, he said simply. Why? They asked. He was quiet for a long moment. Lira watched his throat work as he swallowed. Because up there, he said, we watch people die from a distance and call it principled restraint. Down here, I get to pick up a stun baton and stand in front of a doorway. It's messier, louder, people bite, but it's real. He glanced at Lira, then away again, as if afraid to let his gaze linger. Down here, when something horrible almost happens, he said, you don't write an ethics paper about it. You fix it, or you die trying. Lyra's heart squeezed. She had never heard him speak so plainly. The emissary's expression did not soften. Their eyes were too precise, their features too carefully arranged for that. But something in the set of their shoulders shifted. And what would you see from us? They asked. What fix would satisfy you? Stop pointing firebreaks at people who didn't ask for your help, he said. Admit that your non-interference policy is just interference with extra steps. That is not a policy change we can enact for one station, the second figure said sharply. Then don't, Jax said. Start with this one. Carve out an exception. Call it a pilot program. Call it a long-term field study with embedded agent gone rogue. I don't care. You already logged your presence here. You can't pretend we don't exist anymore. So own it. Give this system a special status. No more fire breaks. No more quiet tidying. Just eyes. And maybe, once in a while, a hand that reaches down instead of hovering. You ask us to abandon our principles, the second figure said. I'm asking you to live up to them, Jax said. Silence swallowed the dock. Lira realized her palms were damp on her baton. The emissaries turned slightly toward each other, a shared tilt of heads. Lira had the unnerving sense they were conversing on channels she couldn't see, streams of data flowing between them and the invisible ship above. At last, the first figure looked back at Jax. "There is precedent," they said slowly. "Rare, unpublicized. Instances where observation determined that continued presence required limited participation to prevent greater harm. The data from those cases is restricted." "Of course it is," Jax said. "Wouldn't want the junior analysts getting ideas." "This station," the emissary continued, as if he hadn't spoken, "is strategically insignificant. Its destruction would not alter regional power structures. Its survival likewise creates minimal entanglement risk beyond what has already occurred. It hosts a variety of species, none of whom are on immediate trajectories toward technologies that would threaten concordant space." "I'm feeling very flattered," Jax muttered. "You, however," they said, "are a problem." "Story of my life," he said. "We cannot leave one of ours fully embedded with no oversight," they said. "You carry knowledge that could accelerate local development destabilizingly, if misused." "I'm an engineer," he said. "We make everyone's day better, not worse." "Debatable," Lira murmured. He shot her an aggrieved look. The emissary considered. "If we classify this station as a limited interaction zone," they said at last, "you will fall under a unique set of constraints. Your access to concordant systems will be revoked. Your identity will be flagged as non-returnable. You will lose legal protections held by citizens in core space." "So I become an exile," he said. "Yes," they said, "by choice. Your data will remain. Your actions will be studied. But you will be severed." He swallowed. Lyra's chest ached. "However," the emissary added, "we will also tag this system as off-limits to firebreak deployment. We will restrict corrective actions to passive options. If additional incidents occur, we will deal with them in ways that do not involve erasing your friends." Lira latched onto that word. "This station will survive," she said, "if he stays." "Yes," they said, "unless local factors destroy it, in which case that will be regrettable, but not our responsibility." Jax huffed. "You're getting better at sounding almost like people." The second figure bristled. "We are people." "Try acting like it," he replied. Lira looked from the emissaries to him. "This is your choice," she said. I can't make it for you." He met her gaze. In his eyes, the constant flicker of jokes and deflections had gone quiet. Beneath it, she saw what she had only glimpsed in fragments. Fear, yes, but also a strange, stubborn relief. Like a man who had been holding onto a rope for too long and had finally realized he could let go. "You know," he said softly, "when I was a kid, they told us stories about going groundside, that it was dangerous, contaminating. They made it sound like wading into a swamp." "It is filthy down here," she said, "and noisy, and people bite." He smiled faintly. "Yeah," he said, "but the view is better." She didn't know what made her do it. Maybe it was the knowledge that he was about to cut himself loose from everything he'd ever known. Maybe it was the faint tremor in his hand. Maybe it was just the accumulated weight of almost losing him twice in as many weeks. She stepped forward and very deliberately reached out to touch his arm. His skin was warm under her fingers, solid in a way that had nothing to do with gravity. "Whatever you choose," she said quietly, "I will stand with you, on this station, or at the edge of your people's ship, or in the middle of a raider boarding. That is not contamination. That is commitment." His breath hitched. For a moment, the dock, the emissaries, the invisible warship, all of it fell away. It was just the two of them, her hand on his arm, and his eyes wide with something like shock. "Lira," he said, voice suddenly rough. If you keep saying things like that, I'm going to start thinking you like me." She rolled her eyes, withdrawing her hand. "Imagine how stupid that would be," she said. He laughed, shaky but real. "Right," he said. "Stupid." He turned back to the emissaries. "I accept," he said. "Make this system a limited interaction zone. Exile me. Put my file in whatever cabinet you use for inconvenient data points. I'll stay." The second figure looked like they'd bitten something sour. "Your arrogance will—" The first figure lifted a hand again. "Done," they said. "The classification has been logged. Firebreak deployment is now prohibited in this system, barring catastrophic deviation from current trajectories." Jax blinked. "That's it?" he asked. "No ceremony? No dramatic stripping of rank and privileges?" "We are not a drama," the second figure said. "Could have fooled me," he muttered. The emissary's gaze flicked to Lira. "You have altered a concordant agent's vector in ways our models did not predict," they said. "That will be noted." "I am honored to clutter your charts," she said. If they recognized the sarcasm, they gave no sign. "To be clear," the emissary added, "this does not grant you carte blanche. If Engineer Jaxus Carl shares restricted knowledge that accelerates your development beyond acceptable bounds, we will act. Differently, but we will act." "Define restricted," Lira said. "Anything that makes your station less charmingly primitive," they said. "Good," Jax said quickly. "I'm terrible at lectures anyway." The emissary regarded him one last time. "You were promising," they said. "You could have done much for the Directorate." "I'm doing much for me," he said, "and for them." He jerked his chin at Lira, and by extension, the station. "That is selfishness," the second figure said. "Finally," he said, "something we agree on." The emissaries inclined their heads in something just shy of a bow. "Then we have nothing further," the first figure said. "We will retrieve the firebreak and withdraw. Observation will continue. Interference will be constrained." "Pleasure hating you in person," Jax said. They ignored that. The three moved as one toward the outer door, steps smooth, bodies almost gliding. The dock cameras flickered, catching a brief shimmer of distortion as the external lock cycled. Then they were gone. Lira stared at the empty vestibule. "That is it?" she asked aloud. "For now," Raoul's voice answered. "Their presence in orbit remains, but the immediate threat has abated." A different voice cut in, a tech on the observation deck. "Commander," they said, "the null mass is receding. They're moving out of synchronous orbit." "Track them," Raoul ordered. "Log every vector, every fluctuation." "Already doing it," the tech said, slightly offended. The comm went quiet. Lira turned to Jax. He sagged as if someone had cut his strings, catching himself on the doorframe. "Hey," she said, stepping closer. "Breathe." "I'm breathing," he said, inhaling shakily. "I'm also currently rewiring my entire identity, so I'm a little occupied." "Sit," she said, pointing to a cargo crate. "Yes, officer," he murmured, dropping onto it. She crouched in front of him, scanning his face. He looked younger, somehow. Not physically. He was still the same tall, annoyingly handsome, human-adjacent mess. But something in the set of his shoulders had softened. The constant tension of, "What if they come for me?" had eased, replaced by something quieter and heavier. "You're exiled," she said carefully. "Seems that way," he said. "I'm officially too infected with local attachments to be allowed back into the treehouse." "And you're okay?" she asked. He thought about it. "No," he said honestly, "but I think I will be." She nodded once. "You're stuck with us now," she said. He managed a weak grin. "Worst punishment they could have given me," he said. "Forced to spend the rest of my life on a station with questionable plumbing and a security officer who stuns people for affectionate biting." "I will stun you if you attempt it," she said. "Noted," he said quickly. Very noted. She hesitated. There was something in her chest, pressing upward, a pressure she had been ignoring for weeks. She had tried to name it in her own language, had settled on dangerous warmth, and left it at that. Now, with the immediate threat gone, and the ship withdrawing, and Jax looking like someone had both saved and ruined his life in the same hour, she felt it crest. "You did it," she said quietly. "You saved us. Again." "Technically," he said, "they saved you by not murdering you. I just guilted them into it." "That is not a small thing," she said. "I weaponized my upbringing," he said. "Not exactly heroic." "You stood in front of a gun aimed at us," she said. "You offered yourself. You argued for us. That is heroic." His gaze flicked to hers. "You're really going to make me feel things today, aren't you?" he said. "Yes," she said. He laughed softly, almost incredulous. "Okay," he said. "Feels weird. Not terrible. Just weird." She straightened. "Come," she said. "We should report to the commander in person. Then you will eat something. Then you will sleep." "Bossy," he said. "Correct," she replied. He pushed himself up, swaying once. She steadied him without thinking, hand at his elbow. For a moment, he leaned into the touch, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Then he cleared his throat. "So," he said, "you're aware this means I'm going to be here. Like, actually here. No more, maybe they'll drag me away tomorrow, looming over everything. You're stuck with my jokes indefinitely." "I had already factored that into my future," she said. He blinked. "You did?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "I am very good at planning." "And you don't mind?" he pressed. She considered him. He had a smear of some kind of grease on his jaw. His hair was still refusing to obey gravity properly. His eyes were a little red at the corners. She had never wanted to punch someone and shield them from the universe so much at the same time. "I find you irritating," she said, "and loud and illogical." "Thank you," he said reflexively. "But," she added, "the station is safer with you here, and less quiet." He blinked again. "Is that your way of saying you'd miss me?" he asked. "No," she said. "That's absolutely your way of saying you'd miss me," he insisted. "Jax." "Lira," he mimicked. She exhaled slowly. "I would notice your absence," she said finally. His grin spread, slow and bright, and utterly oblivious to the weight behind her words. "I'll take it," he said. "That's practically a confession, coming from you." She shook her head. "Come on," she said. "Report, food, sleep, gym." "In that order?" he asked. "Yes." "Rough," he said. "I think I'm in love." She stopped dead. He walked 2 more steps before realizing she wasn't beside him. He turned back, frowning. "Joke," he said quickly. "That was a joke. I mean, obviously you're very stun-baton chic, but I—" "Jax," she said, cutting him off. "Yeah?" he asked, suddenly wary. "Walk," she said. He swallowed. "Yes, officer." An hour later, after the debrief and Rahl's grudging acknowledgement that having a resident exile from a hyper-advanced civilization may have logistical drawbacks, after Jax had inhaled a truly alarming amount of nutrient paste and sat in silence for a full 2 minutes, a personal record, they found themselves back in the gym. It felt almost normal. Lira stretched on the mat. Jax lay on the bench, staring at the ceiling, an unladen bar resting across his hands. "You're not lifting anything," she pointed out. "I am lifting the tremendous weight of emotional adjustment," he said. "It's very heavy." "You are being dramatic," she said. "Exile comes with perks," he replied. "I get to lean into my feelings now. Very artistic." She rolled onto her back, staring up at the blank expanse above. "Do you regret it?" she asked. He was quiet for a moment. "No," he said. "Terrified, yes. Regretful, no." "Good," she said. "You?" he asked. Do I regret you staying? She clarified. Yeah, she considered. I regret the additional paperwork you will generate, she said. Ouch, he said. Right in the bureaucracy. But, she added, I do not regret that you will be here when the next problem arrives. You think there will be a next? He asked. This is K-17, she said. There is always a next. He laughed, genuine and full this time. Good, he said. I was worried I might get bored. She turned her head to look at him. Jax, she said. Yeah? Do not get bored, she said. You are dangerous when bored. He smiled, eyes closing. I'll do my best, he murmured. The lights above hummed. The station creaked. Outside, somewhere far beyond their senses, an invisible ship altered course and slipped away into the dark, leaving behind a tagged system and one very inconvenient data point. On K-17, in a gym that had seen more of their hearts than either would comfortably admit, a security officer from a thin gravity world and a brilliant, ridiculous exile lay on their backs and listened to the steady beat of a machine that had become, somehow, more than just metal. Gravity, Lira thought, isn't just pull, it's choice. She closed her eyes. Tomorrow, someone would try to smuggle illegal fauna in cryocrates, or a docking clamp would fail at the worst possible moment, or a bored trader would decide to see if Rahal's mandibles were real. When that happened, she knew whose voice she'd hear at her shoulder, complaining and joking and throwing tools at the problem. Dangerous warmth, she thought. She could live with that. Maybe, she admitted silently, she already had.
Thanks for watching Echo Forge. If this story resonated with you, leave a comment, hit like, and subscribe so the next tale finds you. Share this with someone who loves dark fantasy or twisted sci-fi, and I'll see you in the next world.